Hello, everybody. Welcome to this July episode of With Wisdom, Embodying Energy and Embracing Seasons. I'm Sam Jaisurya, and my co-host is...
Gabriela Alvarez.
It's so lovely to see you again, Gabby, and welcome to all of our viewers who are joining us today. And we've been talking over the last couple of weeks now, because we're in July, midsummer. We've talked about the element of fire that kind of is often felt, and something about being in community with others, but also in community with ourselves. And when we're in that summer season, it can, some people really like summer, some people really hate summer. There's something about being out and open, and even in the way we dress, we might be, I'm wearing something very bright today, or some people might wear much less in summer. So there's something about exposing ourselves much more to the world and what's going on around us in terms of the heat and the sunshine and all the events that happen. In my local area this week, there was two huge festivals. There was two big music festivals, and there were a lot of people all joining together. And then there is that side of us that sometimes wants to be a little bit quieter. That fire is a little bit more of a gentle glow, maybe the kind of gentle glow of fire that if you were sitting in a campsite and you were sitting chatting around a fire in the night, and it's a little bit more kind of calmer and quieter, and certainly talks to the calmness and the stillness that Alexandra was talking about in her video last week when she shared the work that she does with us. I think maybe this conversation today is around about conversations with others, conversations with self. What do you think, Gabby?
Yeah. And drawing from what we have been sharing and what Alexandra shared about this wisdom on in the being in the relationality, so in the relationship, in the relational space, know how it builds for me what we have been sharing in the being into your heart, in the sense of being in your truth, in your own voice, how to connect with your voice, with your being, grounding. And then the gem that I still have with me from the conversation with Alexandra about the importance of silence and deep listening, that when you step into the relationship space, instead of coming with your own agenda, no, we were talking, we do it as coach, no, you try to be in this deep presence, but it's not only as coach, it's in every aspect of life.
Every conversation.
If you are clear, okay, who am I, what is my north, my values, my all this stuff, but also when you step into that for listening and not to have a conversation just for answering, because it's something different for me. I don't know if in English that's, but in Spanish I would say it's different to answer than to respond. Not to be responsive for me, it's being in this fluidity of energy, to be in witnessing the other person and listening to the other person also, and being in this resonance, that you don't get lost into the other person, but also you don't get lost into your own maybe narratives or inner agendas of what you want to get from this interaction or so. So that's what comes for me right now, no, that how all this comes together with what we have been sharing.
It reminds me of a little acronym that we learned many years ago, the WAIT one, which is something like, and I'm just kind of pulling it out of my deep memory of: witness the person in front of you, appreciate what they're communicating, intuit your response, and something around trust. That trust that what will happen will be the right thing. It's not exactly that, but it's that piece that's really important in terms of the conversation. And sometimes and I'm going to be the one who's going to be pulling us back to the season piece here today. I can just feel it because it's important to me. Maybe it's more important to me right now, because I feel the heat of the summer. I feel the heat of the summer in some of my relationships. I feel the heat of the summer in the way that I'm interacting in the world when I'm out. So I'm going out earlier in the morning and later in the evening and less time in the day, which is different for me because it's too hot to be out too long at the moment in the midday. So thinking about that in terms of our relationships, obviously we want to build a great relationship with ourselves. Embodying energy, embracing seasons is about connecting with fundamentally with ourselves, finding that north that Alexandra was talking about. But it could also be in relationships with other people. And my I have two supervisors who I work with, and they have a wonderful book where I cherry picked this beautiful way of solving and resolving issues in relationships that may have gone awry in some way, and taking the plant thing in the middle of summer is often where you'll find all the flowers, but you'll also find all the weeds. Because weeds are plants and they grow just as fast as all the other plants that you want to cultivate in a garden. And sometimes we might find that our garden of a friendship or a relationship has come overgrown with weeds, overgrown with things that don't belong there, unsaid things, unsaid words, unsaid conversations, half-finished conversations, or maybe some like an overhang of old emotions or negative emotions that may be lingering. Yeah. So that if you imagine it in your conversation like an overgrown garden, there's things that you might need to just get rid of. And Karen and Elaine, as their supervisors, have shared this wonderful tool where you could think about that conversation and write it, mend it, or say it. And so write it, mend it, or say it. So write it, maybe it's about journaling, and writing out. Write out all your feelings, all your sensations, what your frustrations are, and then use the element of summer and burn it. Rip it up, burn it, and then blow it. It's done, it's gone, it's finished. And that, in a way, then provides space for a more fruitful conversation to happen with somebody. So these are things that I'm offering as a gift here, as a summer gift to our watchers. The other one is to try and mend it. And with the mending, that's something that can be a little bit challenging, because sometimes those relationships may not need mending, they just may need to be weeded out. Because remember, we're talking about summer, sometimes we have to weed out. So in the weeding out, we also have to let go. So we're tending to that letting go piece, pulling out and letting go. So you have to make those decisions about that. But for the relationships that we might want to, even with the letting go ones, we might want to say it. And one of the tools that you could use on your own without anybody else around you or anybody else knowing is to pull on the open chair method, which comes out of Gestalt psychotherapy, where you have a conversation with that person, but you speak it aloud, and you speak from what your heart wants, what's really in your heart, and you have that conversation with somebody. And by actually voicing and speaking aloud, just as I was a couple of weeks ago reading out a piece out of the 4 agreements and noticing how stronger my voice and how much more presence my voice had in the second reading, there's an opportunity for you to practice having those conversations and say something. And as an extension to that is, if you feel up to it, is doing something like this. I'm going to just demonstrate for myself here. So here I am, possibly having a conversation with somebody that I need to have a conversation with. There is something lingering in me, maybe an emotional response that I'm not that happy with, or some unsaid things that I wanted to say. And there may be words I will never say aloud, but I'm saying them aloud in the comfort and security of my room. And then I would stand up, kind of do a little bit of a shake it off, sit down, turn my chair, and then take the position of the person that I was talking to. And then as that person, respond to me. And in this way, I'm able to hear possibly some of the words that I might be wanting to hear, or maybe something else might come up that has been hidden to me, to my conscious mind. But it's something within my unconscious mind that needs to be voiced and needs to be shared, which might provide a resolution to this conversation that I need to have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that sounds a bit strange, and I know some of you who are listening have had similar experiences and have tried things like this. But it is something that you can use to resolve some kind of conversation that needs to be had. And it might be with somebody who's not here. It might be with a member of your family who you never really had these opportunities to say these words to. A mother or a father or a grandparent or great grandparent. Somebody in your extended family that's moved away. And as a way of just letting it be and leaving it there and having some kind of resolution to it. Now, that's just a smattering of different ideas there. Gabby, have you tried anything like this in your life?
Yeah, many times in many different ways. Um, so when I was listening to you, so many times I even had the exercise being myself.
Mm,
So I had two chairs, and then there was one that I was myself in in that moment, which was in deep suffering and all these things. And then there was the self of me, maybe my little me or my. So you can also do it with yourself. And I was listening to you, and also, I mean, I also did it in therapeutical environment. That was also with a psychologist, but in a different way. That I was working with what you said, with the ancestors, and my mother and my father died long time ago, so they are not here, so I cannot like uh, the amendment and all this talking I have done with my mother or my father or my grandparents has been in this kind of realm with these exercises, and for example, for me was quite powerful one where you have a trusting figure. It can be a trusting figure that I mean, that you know in real life, or
mhm.
maybe, I don't know, an archetype or something, or a being that
Mm,
makes you feel safe.
mm,
And I went through this. This was a session where it was for forgiveness for my mom and for all what happened, and it was so beautiful and potent because I went to this figure, which was one of my ancestral grandmothers or whatever. So it doesn't matter if it's real or not. If it's just you have this energy that you feel like in a grandmother's lap, no? And I went to her, and I let her, so I complained, so I was free to complain about all the things I was feeling that were very unfair in my life and in my story, and like a little kid when you go and said, oh, my mom did this and that, and so and so, and you have like this comforting energy. And then the powerful moment was when I was invited not only to complain but to share openly, which I until then I realized I never done because I focused too much on what happened. But it was to share what I would have loved to have had,
lovely.
what I was needing. So I mean, it has a lot of these conversations, no, and it opens up for conversations with all what has happened with the figures in your life, and you organize your life. But I think it can be powerful also with relationships that are present in the moment, no, that
Mm,
if they are uh, people that really you do care, because if you have trouble sometimes bringing something very near to your heart, is because you really sometimes you care very much of the on the other person, no. So it's beautiful to have before, if you have the space, the time, and feel like doing it, this kind of exercises. It helps to clear the way, and when you come into the company of this person or group of people. Maybe it's a group of people you're part of and you're trying to find your voice between these people. It might help to convey the message in a very helpful way that is respecting yourself, your integrity, but also, yeah, caring for the connection, right? So for the
Mm.
relation.
And I'm just picking up on, you said trusted, somebody you trusted, you talked about your grandmother, who is, I'm assuming that has passed, and so you weren't able to have that conversation, but they were there to support you in this
Mhm.
conversation with, say, your mother, for example. So the archetypes could be really supportive and powerful, and it might be somebody might choose, I don't know, somebody might decide they might want to choose a tarot card, or an angel card, or there's many different kinds of forms that people can use as a supportive person. I suppose my cautioning voice, I've got a little cautioning voice coming through me now, is
Mhm.
saying, so if people are having these conversations over and over and over and over again on their own, and it's making them feel sad and more angry or more frustrated, that's definitely a time to step into the therapeutic world.
Ah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No,
And so
for
we're
sure.
kind of like putting some little guardrails up here, because no, none of us want to be like that. And I know I have been in that space when I have had similar repetitive conversations with myself about someone or something that's happened, which
Mhm.
have then kind of been a bit of a downward spiral for me. It saps my energy. It takes my energy. It's a bit like the weeds taking and sucking my energy away so that I don't flourish and I don't grow.
No, in that case, I mean, all what I share, I was with someone that guided me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Of course, when you are able to do this kind of things, or it becomes something that you can draw from in your life, because it's a training, no? My experience is, when you get in this way of being and you get to know yourself better and you get to know your weather and your seasons also,
That's
know
lovely.
which kind of seasons and weather you are.
Mm,
You get to be a good gardener of yourself,
mm,
no? And being a good gardener, it means to know when you need support from someone else.
mhm,
So sometimes as a gardener, you need another fellow gardeners, or
mm,
someone that has more experience than yourself in the gardening,
mm,
or in the forest, to keep in this image. So I think it's a balance. No, it's a for being able to be in the outside world. It's also meaning that you in your life get to have a relationship with yourself through the seasons, through the times, through listening, and to get this trust. For me, after the burnout, after all the things that happened to me in the past years, the grieving when my mother died 10 years ago, my history of, yeah, very difficult things and trauma and all this stuff. Um, what it has been very powerful is that going through these processes of either by being guided by someone at psychologist or someone that is training that, but also then daring to do a small experiments, but of course with discernment, is that you gain trust in yourself, and that has
yeah.
been the healing for me. What you mentioned, this trust. Um, it's a healing thing when you have been in the space of burnout, depression, or trauma. It's how to build trust, relational trust. But the first
Mm,
relational trust that you need to build is with yourself, and that you need
absolutely.
a therapist, no? And or at least it's my experience that you it's important to have people that are trained on that and that are able to witness yourself in that loving, trusting energy. Then the other space where I have been healing is also the friendship space, because if you have friendships, and I'm grateful and I feel blessed by that, is if you have friends where you feel that you can like trust these kind of things, it's also very important. Not what you
Mm,
said, not stay alone having
mm,
conversations with yourself or your archetypes.
mm,
It's a multi facetic thing, no? So with
mm,
just with discernment, it's just today the invitation is not just to go on an adventure. It's not a one size fits all. It's just to put in the space how important is that the relationality. It's a thing that is not only outside, it's inside, it's in
It
between,
absolutely
it's a
is.
dynamic, and
And it's here. And again, as we just repeat a little bit that ruminating conversations which kind of happen, which kind of sit in our gut almost, sap that fire in our heart.
yeah,
It stops us kind of finding that true north, or that kind of the path that we want to go forward in, and it can leave us feeling stuck.
yeah.
Yeah. And so having these kinds of conversations on our own, with others, with trusted professional guides as well, is going to support us to show up in the world with a really clear flame, burning brightly, not out of control, but kind of and that flame is going to act as a beacon to other people who are feeling frustrated or lost or what have you, that they'll be able to get themselves resourced on their own journey
Mm-hmm.
of self, sort of learning about self. Not
Mm-hmm.
that we will be teaching them, but as we are if we're fully embodying our own energy, then other people will get resourced by us so that
Mm-hmm.
they can resource themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's something that I really
Yeah.
want to kind of, yeah.
And actually, I think it goes beyond all of this also, because sometimes it's not about having conversations, it's about having a relationship, for example, with creativity, with
Mm,
the earth. We were talking about gardens or
mm,
forests or something. Sometimes, before having conversations, before coming to the relational piece, especially in conversations that are not so easy, maybe it helps to go for a walk. Maybe it helps to go and see the world,
smell something,
smell
yes,
the
see
world,
something, yeah.
and touch yourself,
Mm,
and write something. But write not only the conversation, write something that you. We were sharing some weeks ago about play and the importance
mm,
and the sacredness of play. It's actually that, no, it's this another way of relating, that it doesn't have to do with too much mental processes, and disconnected a little bit also from only the rational logic, and go into the feeling space, no, in
mm.
a also um, safe way.
So I wonder if we just pause here, and everybody, if you're watching, just join us, just noticing and settling myself back in my chair, getting myself a little bit grounded, doing the little shoulder thing. And just, I'm closing my eyes, just naturally close my eyes now, because I want to take my attention to my heart. And maybe I'm inviting you to take your attention to your heart. And we've talked about that flame and fire. So what's going on for you right now? And as you're breathing, try this as a breath pattern. Flame is right center in your heart. Let's try something like box breathing, which is 4 in. That's one side of the box. 4 out. 4 in. 4 out. The flame is now enclosed by 4 walls, but those boundary walls are supportive. They are permeable. They're feeding the flame, and they're supportive. So as Alexandra told us last week, find the moments of stillness and calm in the middle of summer. Have a listen back to our conversation today and see if there's anything there that will support you in having those conversations with self or with others. We're going to sign off here. So it's bye-bye from me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sam, for today, and thank you everybody listening to us. Just if you resonated, please share it. Please let us know, comment, interact with us because we want to have conversations with you also. Thank you very much
Mm.
for being here.
Bye bye.
Bye.